Back to the topic we were going to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to talk about some O-line here.
I am not sure, and this is maybe just a gut feeling, Phil. I'm not sure Big Tree. I thought it'd kind of be a lock. I'm not sure Tree starts at guard. I just the more I think about it and then try to read the tea leaves, which is dangerous. Now, maybe no, look, I'm not saying he's definitely not. I'm not. I mean, we'll be sitting in Atlanta. They'll not start lineup, or at some point they'll release a depth chart. I could definitely see him starting. I just don't think they went all in. They didn't go all in with that in the spring. And I think one of the reasons was Casey Henry was out the whole spring. You needed to have tackles to practice, and they worked him at right tackle. They did work him inside some at left guard. We did notice that. But if you notice Beamer's exclusive interview with Hale, they talked about it a little bit. Beamer's quote was, "We sure like our situation at tackle for sure," which meant Tree's a tackle. Now, could Tree do both? Absolutely. That's what I thought they should do, is cross-train him. The other part of it is this, and this is something that I don't know for sure. Again, this is kind of just gut feeling. It may have been that he wasn't all that good at guard. I don't know that for sure. But it may be that Marquis Anderson, Trovon Ball, that maybe he wasn't tracking to win the starting job. I know what they're going to do is try to get the best 5 on the field, and we'll see what happens. The other thing you have to keep in mind is, you got Casey Henry and you got Josiah Thompson, and you got Jatavius Shivers, who's a good reserve offensive tackle. Don't. But who's there's no other. If one of those two guys goes down, there's a significant drop off, I would think, with Shivers. Maybe he's gotten better. I'm not saying that definitively. But if you have Tree, obviously he can step in, especially if he can play either tackle spot. And then there's also the possibility he could beat one of them out.
All right.
It's competition. I know that the coaching staff is higher on Casey Henry than maybe some of the fans out there are. Same thing with Brian Thomas Jr. Same thing with Oscar Attaway. There's guys like that every year where fans are kind of like, and the staff's like, ooh, and most of the time the coaching staff ends up being right.
Well,
not always though, Phil.
No, that's
not
true.
Always.
It's not always the case. No,
not always. Ben says he's a Nick Sharp truther. Whether or not he starts day one, I think he'll be there come the end of the year. Nick Sharp, yes. I am picking up what you were putting down. And when they got him, there was a lot of great feedback about him. They thought the kid was special. And so, it came from Wake Forest. I will tell everybody out there, just because some were kind of like, well, these guys talking about Nick Sharp, right? Wake Forest. I mean, they played Ole Miss and Clemson last year. It's not like, and other ACC schools. I know the ACC is not the best conference, but when you're talking about an individual player, and consider Torricelli Simpkins came from HBCU to that level and was okay. Kyle Kennard came from the ACC. Demetrius Knight, first 4 years were in the ACC. Brandon Cisse is coming from the ACC. I mean, I don't think it matters, but so there's that. Number two, the guy played a bunch of snaps, and then Whittle had an article on PFF. Nick Sharp had like 481 passing snaps last year. Only gave up like 2 sacks. Maybe it was 2 pressures. He's good at pass blocking. And so then you think at 6'2", 340, I think he could probably run block pretty well too, Phil. I mean, if you got that kind of girth. He's older. He's determined. I think he came to South Carolina so he could start and go to the NFL. So I'm buying that. Xavier says, do we lose Tree if he doesn't start? I doubt it. and they're aware of all that too, Xavier. People were concerned last year when Tree and Trevon Ball did not start,
right,
and Marquis didn't start. They're going to transfer, and they didn't. I think they understand it's a process. The other part of that is, and while I understand, without getting into this discussion, I understand that the offensive line needs to have a better year. There's no question about it, right? There's no debate. It has to be, but they like playing for Lonnie Teasley. They really do. And his assistants. I mean, there's a lot of loyalty there.
yeah.
And I don't with Big Tree and Trevon Ball, I the plan is for them to be back in 2026, to the point where there's already some, with NIL and stuff, they're already kind of looking ahead at that. Because that shapes what your recruiting class, right? Because you kind of in your mind going, oh, well, this, that, and the other. So I don't know. I love Tree, and I think, like I said, I think he's one of the best linemen on the team. Will he start? I don't know. And look, I don't know that he won't start at tackle. I don't know that he couldn't beat Josiah Thompson out. That sounds like sacrilege, I know.
But I mean, you think experience,
if Josiah Thompson did not take a big step forward,
yeah,
Tree did at tackle, but he played some right tackle too with Henry out in the spring game. We'll see. Case and Henry has had a history of injuries, and so and that's why I've said from the start about Tree. I was like, yeah, move him inside, that's fine, but cross train him. They didn't cross train anybody last year.
No,
it was weird. But cross train him, get him in there, and so hey, you got some depth inside. So somebody, Kaysen goes down or Josiah goes down, Tree just goes to tackle, insert a guard. Whether that's Trevon Ball, Marquis Anderson, Rodney Newsom, Nick Sharp. But I am a Nick Sharp truther with you. I'm right there with you. And nobody talked about Nick Sharp because Nick Sharp was out for all spring too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But he's got big old guns, got a gun show going on, dude. By the way, there is a picture David Cloninger tweeted of Christian Ingram. Great Lord in heaven.
Well, missed that one. I haven't seen that.
Dude looks like he looks, Kamari Blair looks like 37 years old. Christian Ingram looks young, but dude, that guy, that's a big dude. 6'6", 310. Kreger pointed it out in the chat box a couple of days ago. But anyway, I don't know, and a final point here on the offensive line before we wrap up. Don't hit the music just yet, Phil.
No, I'm good.
I want to make this final point here. I've been on the Torricelli Simpkins bandwagon for quite some time, and I did look at a lot of the good plays he made last year, and I know what he looks like. He passed the eyeball test and all that. But in going back and rewatching film from last year, Torricelli Simpkins was really, and I don't know why, but there were some feast or famine moments with him. There were some moments with him where things were not good, where he looked not so great as well. I just, so my point in saying that is, and I thought Kamar Bell was pretty average, tried hard, was in the place he needed to be. And Vershawn Lee, obviously really solid player, really good player for a long time at Carolina. But they love Boaz Stanley. Billy Tucker from ESPN called him Carolina's breakout top transfer player. You start thinking about Stanley and Sharp and then Ball or Anderson or Tree or whoever on the inside. Phil, I don't know that interior is not going to be much better this year, even with losing 3 starters. I just think that they'll have better players.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the linebacking core. You've upgraded the talent, but you've lost the experience and leadership. So yeah. How quickly can you, get them around that curve? I think Boaz, obviously, Stanley was brought in, I would imagine, to be the center, right? I mean, within all intentions of him being that guy, he would be a pretty steady guy to build around. So that's good. But yeah, I'm with you. Like there's no guarantees that this offensive line is going to be worse, but there is no guarantee that they're going to be better as well. So you just need to make a step forward, and hopefully that talent will raise the ceiling, right? That's what I'm looking for, is that the talent will raise the ceiling over what the leadership and experience brought you last year.
I also like the fact they're going to be about averaging about 330 across those three spots compared to maybe like 310 last year.
A little beefier.
That's 20 more pounds. That's more beef. Where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
But to wrap it up, with Nick Sharp, Whittle's article that pointed out his pass, PFF, it is what it is. I'm still convinced they don't watch every play, but Nick Sharp can pass protect, and that's good too, because that keeps guys off the north sellers. You're not going to have guys running right up the middle and stuff like you did last year. And I did want to point out, because I've been flying the Torricelli Simpkins banner for a long time, and obviously he's with the Saints, and I hope he makes the roster, and I think he's good. He's got talent, but there were some lapses and breakdowns on his part last year too that maybe went a little unnoticed on the right side. So hopefully the interior is better. So, but that was my offensive.
JC and Matt